hopefully the first of many. The thing that's all the supper clubs across the whole country happen at restaurants, places, and the thing that's different about this restaurant and this Brownstone Supper Club is that everything you're gonna eat tonight is organic, and then lots of it was grown right here on the ranch, or the protein was raised right here on the ranch. And so the first course, it's gonna be family style. The soup and the lasagna will be plated individually. Everything else is gonna come out and you guys are gonna share with your little wooden plates. So there's pumpkins from the ranch, there's a pumpkin soup. In the next course, after the Brussels sprouts and the cauliflower, we have a mixed green salad. We have beef lasagna. Normally all the beef that's on my ranch, we only serve our own beef, but we had a little accident where the cows we were going to take got pregnant, and I'm pro-life all the time, so we weren't gonna harvest any pregnant cows. So I traded my pregnant cows with my dear friend Lee from Southwest Farms, who also is a regenerative farmer from Central Texas. So I want to shout out that the lasagna beef is from Lee. We don't use any seed oils here in the restaurant, so these Brussels sprouts are fried in tallow, as well as the cauliflower. We don't believe in seed oil. So this is going to be seed oil free, and the pizza is going to be also all organic and sourdough, because we believe fermented is always better. And then there's an amazing strawberry cake for dessert that my sister-in-law made, all organic sourdough strawberry cake with a buttercream frosting. And the strawberries are from California. My dear friends Lucas and Amber, who congratulations is in order because they're getting married, just went to California and brought us back the strawberries from my old ranch and partners in California. So we have organic strawberries in the middle of winter, which is a blessing. The food's gonna start to come out. I wanna invite you guys to talk, and I wanna invite you guys to get to know each other, because yes, Carrie's gonna talk and I'm gonna talk, and that's part of the evening, but it's also getting to know people in the real world is what Jeffrey's vision from Jeffrey Tucker from the Brownstone Institute. His vision is that during COVID, people really stopped going out and meeting new people and adventuring into face-to-face conversations, and he wants to wake that up and bring that back in the world. And this original supper club started in his living room in Connecticut, and then it grew to so big that his girlfriend was like, honey, can we not do this in our living room? And so it moved to restaurants. And so the Brownstone Institute, I just want to say a little bit, they're a nonprofit think tank that came out of the Great Barrington Declaration. Does anybody remember the Great Barrington Declaration during COVID? And Jeffrey Tucker is an extraordinary writer. He writes a daily column at the Epoch Times every day, and he's an economist, normal, that's what it would say is his description, but he writes about everything from holiday movies to plum cake to silver and gold and the economy and Bitcoin, and he's extraordinary. So this is what I want to do. Since he couldn't make it out tonight, he wanted to come to the first one. I think that we should make a little video where we say, we miss you, Jeffrey, in the background. What do you guys think? And I'll text it to him. Can we do that? Or should we just say, thank you, Jeffrey? Thank you, Jeffrey. That's better. Then there's no guilt involved.
Okay, so we're going to turn it to video. Wait, no. We're going to turn it around. Okay, everybody, we're going to do it at 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to say, and we're going to do it, okay? Yeah. We're saying, thank you, Jeffrey. Okay. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Brownstone Institute is an awesome organization to support if you guys don't already know, and lots of writers that maybe are behind paywalls, like on Epoch Times and other places, and maybe you don't pay for those paywalls, you can go to their website and there's no paywall. They also publish writers' books for almost no money, and the thing about publishing, and no shade, I'm not trying to throw any shade on my publisher, but they take 80%. And so to have an organization like this that wants to get ideas of freedom and liberty out in the world without taking 80% from the people having the ideas is awesome. And he brings in ideas, so you can read, they put up new articles every day, and you can donate or you cannot, but it's an awesome organization, and I'm honored for my friendship friendship with Jeffrey, and I'm honored that we get to do this here on Sovereignty Ranch, and I hope that this is one of many. I hope that you guys enjoy the food, and I'll be back up here with Carrie a little bit later. Buffalo cauliflower. I literally invented this. Y'all might not know this, but in this form, I don't know how many years ago, 15, 16 years ago, I invented this, and now it's at Trader Joe's and California Pizza Kitchen and everywhere else. But this is my world famous buffalo cauliflower. Enjoy your meal, enjoy your conversation. Some people are waiting to eat because she was talking. I just want everybody to eat even while I'm talking. If you're not eating, feel free to turn your chair around so I can see your beautiful faces and look you in the eyes and connect with you. We still have strawberry cream, buttercream cake coming, so I hope y'all have room. I know we didn't feed you very much. So, I want to talk to you guys, and I want it to be interactive, so I'm going to ask some questions. And I just first really want to acknowledge everybody that came out tonight. Things like this, Sovereignty Ranch, can only exist when the community supports it. It can't just be like, oh, I think there's this really cool place outside of Bandera, and I went there one time when my mother-in-law was visiting, and I never went again, because things like this can't survive like that. So it makes a huge difference. Every person that walks through the store, every person that buys a sourdough bread, every person that came to this event. So however you got here, whether it was because you read the Epoch Times, or because you heard me on a podcast, or because you're a Jeffrey Tucker fan and you love the Brownstone Institute, or because you are a Texas for Vaccine Choice supporter and you heard about it that way, or you're a regular customer, I just want to say that from the bottom of my heart, before I get into what I'm going to say, thank you. And bigger than that, that's what I want to talk about tonight. And doing work at the legislation and doing all these things does matter. Maybe, I don't know anything anymore. But I don't think the government is going to save us. And I don't think red or blue, they don't give a about you. And so it really comes down to that sign right over there, we the people. And it really comes down to how can we the people make a shift in this world? How can we be the change? How can you be the one that you've been waiting for? Because RFK is not going to do it. He may do some good things, but he's not going to do it. Trump's not going to do it. Biden's not going to do it. Nobody's going to do it. Nobody's going to save us. And the system is designed to support the very, very, very small percentage, and literally to harm the rest of us. And it can feel so overwhelming to live in this system where it doesn't feel like we're meant to thrive. But I'm going to tell you a secret. You belong here. Literally, this place we live in, God created for us, and we belong here. But we have to remember that, and then we have to take our place as the keystone species on the planet, and we have to be the best cell in the body that we can be, so that shift can happen. And that means every day giving up a little bit of our convenience, giving up a little bit of the things that make life so much easier, to have a little bit more freedom. And we think and we talk about freedom, we don't have it. And we rarely step back and look at the bigger picture. Today, people were arguing all over the internet about the ICE protests and if ICE was right or was the person right or who had the gun and. What if we step back to 9/11 and say, the last time there was a false flag event, we didn't do anything, and that's the only reason that Homeland Security exists in the first place. So whether we like how they're managing this or not, do we really think that we should have given up all of our freedoms that have led to this moment? And what's going to come out of the chaos that they're trying to create right now with ICE and this next false flag? And what more freedoms will they take from us then? We have to be awake and we have to look at everything with discernment. And we have to gather in groups like this and we have to make community matter. We have to create systems outside of the system. We have to remember that those ones and zeros on the screen, they matter. Because it's how we pay for everything and how we go through everything, but it's not real. It's literally made up. We all know at this point how a loan is made. You sign your name on the dotted line and that money is made up. It's not like the bank has a pile of money and they're lending it to you. You know what I learned today? 7 places in the Bible it says you're not going to go to heaven and you're not going to be in God's grace if you charge interest. And then I was like, I don't understand. Our entire system is based on charging interest on made-up money that didn't even exist before you signed your name. Literally, we're charging interest on witchcraft or magic. That's our whole system. It's crazy. And people want to argue about like breath work or yoga. I'm like, can we argue about Coke and the fiat money system before we argue about breath work and yoga? And when I get to that, I just want to say that we use everything to divide. And Carrie was just talking about this. How can we see the spark of God in each other? How can we see where we're the same? How can we pull each other together? That's where the beauty lies. I went to this food and farming conference in Utah this last weekend or 2 weekends ago. And I get there and I'm like, I have a whole speech planned and I'm at farming conferences. I make jokes about like, you think boys can have babies? Have your bull herd ever made a baby? Like all these, and I'm like, these are not gonna land here. Like half the people are blue-haired and non-binary and the other half are LDS church people. And I'm like, this is crazy. And I went in the closet before I did my keynote at the end of the weekend and I just said, God, can you give me the words to get on this stage and bring people closer together? Because I can't imagine anything that I'm going to say up here because I'm pretty conservative in my values and I'm definitely not LDS. So I'm like, I don't see how there's any way that I'm going to bring anybody closer together or closer to God in this crowd. And I said, just give me the words because the speech I have planned is not going to work. And they get up on stage and you know what came out of me? It said, because what I realized is every person in that room was farmers, right? But half of them are like organic garden market farmers doing that thing that are super, uber, duper. Like there was someone that went on before me, she said she had the queerest farm in whatever state she was in. I was like, okay, great. And then the next guy gets up and he was like, I was just in Trump's office and I thanked him for doing a great job. And I was like, okay, great. I don't think he's doing a great job and I'm not interested in the queerest farm in Iowa. I got up on stage and what I realized was growing healthy food with no chemicals in it, that can be the resistance. And that was the thing that everybody in that room, whether they were LDS or Catholic or trans or queer or black, every one of them was growing chemical-free food. And they were committed to that idea. And that food heals our guts and it heals our hearts and it heals our minds, or actually not in that order, guts, minds, then hearts, because we can think clearly. And so I realized there's so many things that could bring us together. And that girl that had that talk, if I just looked at her like, oh, she's talking about safe spaces and the queerest farm, I could have totally wrote her off. But you know what? At the end of the documentary, and she got up on stage and she said, since this documentary was made, I lost my farm. And I worked myself to the bone and I lost my farm. And I can feel that. I can still feel that because I know how hard it is to work yourself to the bone and try to save a farm. And I thought, the system is rigged. It doesn't matter. I don't agree with her about safe spaces or other things. But I do agree with her that the system is rigged and it's not in her favor, it's not in my favor. And even if she thought that Biden was a solution, and I think that neither one of them is going to be able to come help us, the truth is we're both struggling in that same system. And 80% of what she had to say, I can completely agree with, and 20% is hogwash. But me and my husband, I don't agree 100% on what he has to say, and we're married and we're raising children together. We're never going to get to 100%. And so I want to invite us to go out in the world and be bridge builders. And bridge builders to build community, to build separate systems, to build ways that we can take care of each other. And if that is making medicine, making cleaning products that don't harm us, growing food that doesn't harm us, creating spaces where people can gather and they can enjoy food that doesn't make them sick. This is the Hagermans. Hagermans are exactly what I was talking about. People that support, they come every Saturday night. They're coming on the wrong night of the week. Everybody's confused. No, they told me they were coming tonight. But they come every Saturday night and they do their grocery shopping and they buy their food here. They talk to me about God. They give me encouragement. They ask me how the week was. And that is exactly, they are that. And we all have to be that in our communities. Be the bridge builders. Be the people that are giving people that are struggling encouragement. Because the system is not designed for us to thrive. But we belong here and we can make each other thrive if we care. But we have to care. And we have to surrender a little bit of our resilience. A little bit of our convenience for our resilience. And am I an expert on this? No. But I went from being a vegan chef in Los Angeles, woke as can be, driving a hybrid, sipping my oat milk lattes, to running a cattle ranch in Texas, writing a book called Debunked by Nature. Mother Nature is conservative, right? So I changed everything I believed in this world, because it didn't make sense. And so wisdom is to look at what's happening and when something doesn't make sense. And for me, I went back to farming. I grew up on a farm, but I went back to farming because I wanted to serve the highest quality food in my restaurants. And so I get my farm, my dream. I want to have a farm, and I'm going to have a vegan farm, and nothing is ever going to die. It's going to be so amazing. And my husband was gracious and let me have this imaginary idea. And I'm sitting there on my porch of my farm, and I rescue animals, and I'm doing it. It's regenerative agriculture, and nothing's ever going to die, and it's so amazing. And I'm breastfeeding my baby, and I'm like, oh, I'm such a good mom. And then my toddler comes down, I want some milkies. And I go to the fridge, and in the fridge, I see there's 2 glass bottles of my cow Una's raw milk, because we have this cow that my father gave us, because we need compost, and on and on. And I'm going to give him some soy milk from Costco that has an organic stamp on it in a Tetra Pak that'll never biodegrade. And I'm thinking to myself, if my milk is God's perfect gold, blah, 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 why is Una's milk cancer-causing death? That doesn't make any sense. And on. So the cracks in the armor, veganism was my entire identity. I had these restaurants, they were doing millions of dollars a year. It was a big enterprise, 5,000 square foot restaurants on Sunset Boulevard, and on. And all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but I realized everything I had believed was a lie. And nothing that the current woke culture has taught us exists in nature. Doesn't. Is there sexual diversity in nature? Yes, but nobody gives up reproduction. Nobody stops caring about clean food, clean water. It just, reproduction, water, and food, every mammal cares about except for us. We've forgotten. Do any other mammals put their babies in another room and sleep far away from them? No. Do any other mammals go get some other product to feed their babies instead of breast milk because they think it's going to be better? No. Do any other mammals care what color their baby is? No. or other herd members, what color they are. No, race, we made race up. It's not real. It doesn't exist. We are the human race, all from God. And so in farming, I realized everything I'd ever been taught was a lie. So here I am at 47, and I'll tell you, I don't know anything. I knew everything at 27. At 32, I pretty much knew everything. And at 47, I don't know anything. And wisdom, to me, is the willingness to recognize that I don't know. My kids ask me stuff all the time, and I say, what I was taught was, but I don't know. I never saw a dinosaur, but what I was taught was the Stoic era, and this era, and that era. I don't know. Because I don't know anything. But I was taught everything like it's 100%. And Carrie knew that was coming with COVID. I did not know it was coming with COVID. I was selling my restaurants for $31 million. I was retiring. I was Googling how to buy a jet share. I was not going to cook ever again. I was going to have a private chef. It was going to be awesome. My son, my 10-year-old goes, we were this close to private jet life. I said, yes, baby, we were. And he goes, and now we don't even have money to buy a toy on Amazon. I said, yes, baby. He said, oh. But anyways, $31 million, long deal, takes multiple quarters of the year, going through the process, knocking it out of the park. We're going to get the full $31 million. And the government said, we're going to shut you down for 2.5 years, no indoor dining. We're sorry, we're stealing 15 years of your life. Thousands of hours of breastfeeding a baby in a booth in the back of a restaurant. Thousands of drinks and plates carried with a baby in a rebozo on your chest. And that is why I fight for freedom. And that is why freedom and liberty needs to be the most important thing. Because it is not okay to steal 15 years of somebody's work. Over the next 3 years, I pivoted, and people said, you're just not pivoting hard enough. How hard can you pivot when you own restaurants and nobody can come into them? And the to-go apps take 30%, and most restaurants profit 12%. So I pivoted my little tushy off. I was selling toilet paper and produce and da-da-da-da-da. And I had a farm, and my farm had nowhere to sell. We had lemons. You know where lemons get sold mostly? Restaurants, cruise ships, and hotels. How many lemons do y'all use in your house every week? Not as many as restaurants, cruise ships, hotels. And what, you use a lot? We have a lot here. You can buy some before you go. We have Meyer and Eureka, all organic and regenerative. But so the farm, I pivoted. We did boxes. We did all this stuff. I went through all the process to be able to take food stamps because we were delivering boxes, all 500 boxes around the LA area, organic, fresh produce coming from my farm. And I'm pivoting, and I'm doing all this deliveries, and I go through 2 years of the process to be able to take food stamps. And you want to know what happens? I get to the finish line, the whole golden grail. Everybody's talking about inequity and food deserts, and I'm going to be able to deliver to every mother that wants organic produce right to their door, no matter their socioeconomic situation. And they said, oh no, you can't take SNAP over the internet. They need to come to you to get it. What do you mean? You're screaming about food deserts and inequity, and I got vans, and I'm going to drive it to their door. No. Jack in the Box can take it over the internet. Amazon can take it. The volume, it's worth it for us. Again, the system does not care. It's not about the mother with 3 children that needs to take the bus to the grocery store. Because I had solved for that. I had vans, I had deliveries, we were already delivering 500. It is just, the system is designed, and that system specifically is designed for big, gross agricultural food products that have lots of chemicals in them to have an end buyer. It's all about laundering our tax dollars.
Those things combined, breaking my mind, there's no vegan food, it takes meat, it takes blood meal, bone meal, feather meal to grow food. Cow's milk is just as good as my milk. My mind breaks there. I work so hard, my mind breaks there. My farm, I work so hard, my mind breaks there. And I realize it doesn't matter. The system doesn't want us to win. So my new stance is that we, the people, have to be the ones. We have to be the best cell in the body. And so if you take anything away tonight, my request is that you go out and every day you kick that front door down and you say, I belong here and I'm gonna be the best cell in the body of Christ. If you don't believe in Christ, be the best cell in the body of nature. But you be the best cell that there is on this planet that you were meant to be. And if we all do that, what's the ripple effect of that? Okay, does anybody have any questions? And then I want to acknowledge some people in the kitchen and behind the bar. Let's acknowledge first, and then if anyone has a question. I just want to say, let's give a big round of applause for my husband and Alan and Amber in the kitchen. Let's give a big round of applause for Adi and David. They've been coming out and supporting the ranch so much, and they brought their son Wesley. They literally heard over the holidays that everybody was gone and I had no help, and they literally just moved in for a couple of weeks and started helping. So awesome. And then let's give an acknowledgement for Carla and Rod, who have been here, just always coming to help, and their kids are always helping put stickers on different stuff in the store. And then lastly, but not leastly, my brother, Rylan, who is willing to do this big, crazy project with me. And then Lucas, our dear angel, who also just showed up out of the blue before the Food is Medicine Festival, because we had him come out to help with the POSs. And then he was like, I'm gonna bring my RV out for the weekend in case anything goes wrong during the festival. And literally he's never left. And so Lucas is here supporting. I am incredibly honored. I acknowledged Amber with everybody in the kitchen, but we can acknowledge her again. Amber. I'm incredibly honored to live this life, which is not easy at all and is hard and is challenging, mostly because of the people that show up and want to participate. And that's what gives me hope, because looking at the structures and how it all is structurally set up does not. And I don't have the answers, but I'm going to just keep asking questions. Nate Sheets is running for Ag Commissioner of Texas. He's better than Sid Miller, which doesn't take very much. He's our people, and he's just running because he's frustrated and he wants there to be something better. We're trying to get him to come out and talk at one of these supper clubs, but we want to bring him up that if we want food to matter. And one more thing, as much as the gut system is broken, if you guys know anybody in Florida, what's happening in Florida is super dangerous right now. I don't know if you guys know this, but the farm bill in Florida that is moving through committees with zero resistance right now says that you cannot diminish or talk bad about the agricultural products and practices and things that are used with it. So you can't say sugar's bad, but you also can't say Roundup is bad, glyphosate is bad, on any of the chemicals without being sued for defamation. And now if you win, because you are allowed to say things that are approved science or sorted science, or I can't remember the exact language, but if I prove that what I said was based on this study and this journal and blah, 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 and I wasn't defaming, I cannot get my legal fees back. But if they win, I have to pay for all of their legal fees. So you can see that the design is actually just to stifle free speech. And if we don't have free speech, we don't have anything. And so anybody that's in Florida, anybody that has a social media presence, I can send you a one sheet on all the points to hit if you guys want to make a Facebook post or you want to make an Instagram post. But this is really important, and they're likely going to try it in other states. This is super dangerous, and they're pushing the liability shield for pesticides in multiple states right now, as well as trying to push it in the Farm Bill at the federal level. What she talked about happened in 1986 when the liability shield happened. We were getting 9 vaccines at that time, and now it's 72 or whatever. So that level of ramp up, we cannot afford that level of ramp up in pesticides. We already see what the cancer rates are. We already see what the infertility rates are. We already see the harms that are happening. If they get the and it has passed. It passed in Georgia. It is getting passing places. So please, let's be vigilant on the pesticide liability shield and this freedom of speech thing. And I don't care what anybody says. I think I'm a freedom of speech maximalist, just like I'm a Second Amendment maximalist. I don't think that the reason we're supposed to carry guns is so that to make sure the government has some resistance, so the government shouldn't be able to tell us how many guns we can have, because the real reason we're supposed to have guns is not for hunting. I don't think our founding forefathers were like, so freedom of speech, and then let's make sure duck hunting is really in play. That's not what it was. I'm a freedom of speech maximalist, so First Amendment and Second Amendment as well, but freedom of speech is being encroached in so many different ways, and it might have good intentions, the things that they're trying to make illegal for us to talk about, but when they start making anything illegal for us to talk about, someday we're going to be on the wrong side of that. There was lots of people during COVID that had no problem with people being silenced, and because they were on the right side of that, and there's going to be a day where you're on the wrong side of that, so I'll take the hate speech. It's okay, as long as we all have the right to speak. So we need to be vigilant about this. Florida would be one of the freest states people would refer to it as. And so this is why I'm saying red or blue, they don't give a ish about you, because it's happening in the freest states. And someone just asked me, do you love Texas? And I said, you know what, I thought it was gonna be freer than it is. And I'm dealing with the same kind of bureaucracy and governmental stuff. Not as much, not nearly as much. You can't even believe the stuff that happens in California, but it's incremental. And so it wasn't like this in California 20 years ago either. And so we have to be vigilant. We cannot let the government take a single more one of our freedoms. And so when you look at laws that are trying to be passed, we don't think there should be RVs and blah, blah, blah. You're like, I do not like all those RVs at my neighbor's house. Yeah, no, we can't, because it's every single thing is another piece of our freedom taken away, and your neighbor having those RVs is his freedom, and it might be an eyesore, but an eyesore is better than being enslaved a little bit more. So we gotta be vigilant on the freedom of speech, and we gotta be vigilant on the Second Amendment, and vaccines, and freedom. So we the people, thank you guys for being we the people. I appreciate you all so much, and I will be here. And feel free to shop in the store. Feel free to take sourdough bread. My husband made a bunch of sourdough bread. There's rye, there's bagel bread, there's jalapeno cheddar, there's Texas pecan and raisin, and plain sourdough bread. But any way that you guys support or shop or whatever makes a huge difference for me and my family, and also for your family, because there's no chemicals.